What is good, Disney enjoyers? I am Corwin, the Disney enthusiast, and you're watching the attractions that built
To all who
Disney.
come to this happy place, welcome.
The first sketch of the Haunted Mansion predates the existence of Disneyland. In 1951, designer of the Nautilus Harper Goff created a sketch of a rundown Victorian mansion. But Walt rejected these sketches because he did not want a rundown building in his park. Inspired by the Winchester Mansion, Walt wanted a weird haunted mansion, but it still looked stately on the outside to match the beauty of the park. He famously said, "We'll take care of the outside while the ghosts take care of the inside." The original plan for the attraction was to make it a guided tour walkthrough with a butler, but due to the idea of a bloated pacing and fears that they wouldn't be consistent or it'd be too slow, the walkthrough idea was scrapped. Ken Anderson, who was the leading Imagineer on the project for the New Orleans Square expansion at the time, came up with the first sea captain concept, with it being the boat ride following the Captain Gore storyline who murdered his wives to hide his treasure. However, this, along with the boat ride concept, were also scrapped. The most famous unused concept was the Museum of the Weird developed by Rolly Crump. However, set pieces that were going to be used in the Museum of the Weird, such as the face chair and the 13-hour clock, remain. The mansion exterior would be completed in 1963, but no attraction in it yet, as the World's Fair was coming up, and that was devoting a lot of the Imagineers' time from 1964 and 65. The project was further delayed when Walt passed away in 1966. In fact, many people speculated for years until the Haunted Mansion opened in 69 that Walt was buried there. Following Walt's passing, Ken Anderson departed from the project. Raleigh Crump and Yale Gracie were in charge of putting the illusions together. They came up with the concepts of the Museum of the Weird, and when that got scrapped, they decided to use those illusions for the ride itself. One of their most famous technologies they used was a 19th century theater technique known as Pepper's Ghost. Claude Coates and Mark Davis, more famous Imagineers, they were in charge of making the story. Coates wanted a more scary attraction and came up with the concepts such as the endless hallway and the door hall, while Davis wanted it to be a funny attraction and came up with the various gags that you see in the dining room scene as well as the graveyard jig. Both ideas were eventually combined by Imagineer Xavier Atencio, who wrote the words for Grim Grinning Ghosts. The music would be by Buddy Baker, whose variations are heard all throughout the attraction. You hear anonymous versions that are slow when you go through the foyer, as well as when you're walking to the loading area, and the early parts of the ride that are scary. Then you get to the dining room, and it's more of a waltz style. Then back to that ominous music when you're in the attic. Then you get to the funny graveyard jig, and it's like a song. And the lyrics are designed in a way to where they constantly repeat so that no matter at when you enter the graveyard, you're able to easily follow the song. Now, they still hadn't figured out whether they wanted it to be walk through, boat ride, or how the actual ride vehicle would go. But that would change when Adventures Through Inner Space opened in 1967, when the technology of the Omnimover was introduced. They renamed them Doom Buggies and then intentionally made the carts small to where they only fit 2 to 3 people to give the riders that sense that they were exploring this mansion alone. The attraction would be completed in August of 1969 and began doing cast member tests on the 6th, 7th, and 8th. Following this, on the 9th and 10th, a soft opening occurred for the public where a small number of guests got to test the ride and give their feedback. Then, on the 11th, they held a midnight press event, and then the grand opening to the public occurred on the 12th. The Haunted Mansion would receive a seasonal retheme in 2001 with the debut of the Haunted Mansion Holiday, starring characters from The Nightmare Before Christmas. Fun fact, in the dining room scene, there's always a big gingerbread house, and every year it's different. It's because that gingerbread house is real. So next time you go to Disney, maybe with your friends, if they haven't been in a while, you can tell them that the gingerbread house in the attraction is real. Other variations of the Haunted Mansion include Phantom Manor in Disneyland Paris, and it's called that because Phantom and Manor are so similar in both English and French, it made it easier for not only French tourists as well as if there were American tourists from around the world coming to visit Disneyland Paris. I've been to Disneyland Paris, and personally, Phantom Manor is one of my favorite versions of the Haunted Mansion. The other is completely different from all the other classic Haunted Mansion attractions, and that's Mystic Manor in Hong Kong Disneyland. Due to cultural differences on the dead, they decided to go with a different approach with Mystic Manor to make a completely original attraction exclusive to Hong Kong Disneyland. There is an archaeologist who has a grand collection, and you're going to tour his mansion, but his pet monkey accidentally activates this magical music box that he just discovered, and it causes the whole exhibit to come to life. So you have to navigate his mansion while all of the artifacts are coming to life around you. That one is an attraction I personally want to ride first if I ever get to Hong Kong Disneyland. The Haunted Mansion is one of the most iconic attractions in the Disney parks. So it makes sense that it's been adapted into a board game, which I've played, and two movies. The first came out in 2003, The Haunted Mansion, with Eddie Murphy. And then there was Haunted Mansion that came out in 2023 with actors like Danny DeVito and Owen Wilson. And with that, we now conclude our first episode of the attractions that built Disney. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like. Share your favorite experience of the Haunted Mansion in the comments. And subscribe if you want to see more content like this. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.